Today, we're going to be going over some of the best routes that you guys can use in one-on-one. So the first example is going to be a hesitation skip deep post route versus an inside shade press guy. Now, the reason why this is so great is this is a release that allows you to freeze the DB's tempo, or if this DB doesn't slow down his tempo and overreacts, it allows you to react to his release and take an inside release. So I'll explain that and we'll break it down, but I'm going to play at full speed because I know some of you might be a little confused on that. So he comes off the ball here, gives a little hesitation skip, takes an outside release, is able to stack this DB cut, and then win over the top on a post. Now, you could do this on a deep post. You could do this on a 10 to 12 yard hard post. You could do this release even on a fade route, but this is great for a post route because a post route, you could obviously release inside or release outside. So remember, guys, when we have a DB who's lined up in inside shade press, his goal and his goal only is to prevent the inside route. Don't let us run a slant. Don't let us run a dig. Don't let us run a post and then force us to the outside, right? So what Montgomery does here off the line of scrimmage is he does this hesitation skip release with his front foot. So this release starts with something with your back foot called a kick step. So he kicks behind his front foot. All that does is that serves to load up his hips and create some energy, create some momentum. And then he essentially takes like a double step with the left foot. So you see how he kicks, takes a step with the left foot right here, takes a second step with the left foot. That's that skip move, that hesitation move. And while he is doing this move, he is gathering info and reading this DB. We are forcing this DB to ultimately make a decision. Because what DBs are taught is whenever they're inside shade and they see a wide receiver hesitate to the outside, expect an inside breaking route. Because how many times have you seen a wide receiver on social media or the pages that we post or the routes that we post, they'll slide to the outside, DB jumps to the outside, then they put the brakes on and run a slant. So a lot of DBs are taught when you see this guy hesitate, sit to your inside leverage and keep your leverage. Okay, cool. I do that type of release, and I make sure when I come off and doing this release, I am attacking at a 45-degree angle. That forces the DB to decide, do I sit to the inside or do I overcommit to the outside? And when you're running a route like a post route, again, we could take an outside release or an inside release on a post route. So remember, you kick with the back foot, you hesitate. Now, let's say this DB doesn't sit. Let's say he jumps to the outside. What we could do is we could put the brakes on with this outside foot and then take this inside release, break up to the depth of the route, and then go. We react off of the DB. Because, guys, releases aren't always so cut and dry. A lot of times people think off the line of scrimmage, oh, I have to do XYZ release and then get up into my route. If that release doesn't work or the DB changes up what he's doing, I have to be able to react. But since he sits inside, we come off, we do this little hesitation skip, we let him sit inside, then bam, I go beat him with speed, I work to the outside, I'm able to run this post route. Guys, that hesitation skip release on a route like a post is one of the best things that you could do in one-on-ones because it forces that DB to make a decision. Force him to make a decision, and we will be more successful with my routes in one-on-ones. Now, let's get to this next route here, you guys. So this is a great route for some of you stronger and bigger wide receivers to ultimately use, or maybe use against a DB who's maybe he's your size, but you just feel like you could surprise him with this type of release or this type of move. Now, before we get into this though, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you guys would like a daily workout schedule that you can do to help your route running, your speed, your agility, check out that very first link in the description below for our elite wide receiver training package. What you'll get access to is 8 weeks of daily wide receiver gym workouts and on-field workouts. We break down exactly what you need to do on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc., all the way throughout the week. We give you the exact sets and reps to follow for each drill and exercise and a video example of each drill and exercise so you guys don't get confused. So guys, if you want some more information on our elite wide receiver training package, again, check out that very first link in the description below. Let's get back to this video. So now, this next move that we're going to be talking about, this next route, you could honestly do this on any route that's downfield. This wide receiver ends up running like a post. I like this on a fade route. I like this on a quick slant. I like this on a dig. I like this on an out, any single move route. And this release, or this move, is called a shock release. So a shock release, guys, is something, again, if you're a stronger wide receiver, you're a bigger wide receiver, you feel you could just surprise this DB, this is a great move to use. Now, anytime I post something like this, a lot of people will say, oh, well, this is a flag. This is offensive pass interference. You can't do this. This is illegal. Guys, this is no different than fighting a DB's hands within 5 yards. A DB can jam us within 5 and get hands. He can't jam us when he's sitting off at like 10 to 12 because that's an illegal move. That'd be pass interference, especially when the ball's in the air. So if I do this and the ball's not in the air and I'm within 5 yards, this is totally legal. So a shock release is essentially where you block. It's almost like blocking the DB. You're just trying to shock him, get him off you, then get up into the route. So when we do this, it's very, very important that we are low. We got to be in a low body language or low pad level position. I almost think of it like you just want to slight lean forward. We never want to stand tall and then try to reach. That's how I lose my feet. And then when we do this and get hands on this DB, it's just like blocking, you guys. You want to drive up from your hips, up from your legs, and keep your feet active and moving. And if I could do that, that's a very easy way to shock the DB, get you some separation, and help you get up into this route. So for you bigger, stronger wide receivers, a shock release is one of the best things you could do in one-on-ones, especially if you got a DB who maybe likes to be physical and likes to engage with the contact. Okay, so now in one-on-one, something that you will also see is off-man coverage. So I think running a post route versus inside shade off man, but adding a little something extra in terms of a tempo change or a speed change is one of the best things that you could do in one-on-ones. Now, I know I mentioned a post earlier, but that was off of a hesitation skip release. This is going to be something called a mid-route hesitation or a second level release, if you will. So this wide receiver's inside shade. Just because he's off man doesn't mean anything changes from that inside shade press man look that we saw. When a guy's inside shade, his job is to stop the inside route. Now he's playing off to stop the post, to stop the dig, to stop the curl, rather than the slant. He wants to take away the inside and force us to the outside, right? But it's still man-to-man coverage. He could still be threatened by a fade route. Now, a lot of wide receivers, and DBs are taught this, you guys, a lot of wide receivers in this case will just, obviously we don't want to stem this DB. We don't want to angle our route to the inside, attack his midline, or attack his inside shoulder and hip, because as soon as I start to do that, that DB is going to keep his leverage and my post is going to end up right into him. So I want to attack his outside hip and his outside shoulder, and I want to push vertical. Now, here's the problem, guys. A lot of wide receivers will do that, and they'll run insanely hard. They'll put their head down. They'll run with long strides. They'll pump their arms, and they never even make an attempt at attacking the DB's leverage to move him inside. So when they do that, a smart DB could be thinking, okay, why would he be running it like that? If he was actually running a fade, he maybe would have given me something inside. Maybe you've seen him run a fade before, and he ran it a certain way, so they might sit inside and expect that inside breaking route. So what we could do to change up that DB's thought process, to really make him think vertical, is add a little bit of a tempo change. So that's what this receiver does. He comes off the ball, gives a little hesitation skip, takes it out on the outside shoulder, and we get that DB to flip open his hips. So let's talk about it. So he comes off the ball here, right? So he comes off his second step. So this is his first step off the ball. His second step, he does that hesitation skip, where it is essentially a double step with that foot. This is how you would run a fade versus this coverage, you guys. You would run at this DB, you give a little change, and then you go accelerate up. Again, maybe this receiver's done it before in one-on-ones. Maybe he's done it in a game. Maybe this DB's expecting it. It's all about a mind game, especially when we have one-on-one, man-to-man coverage. So again, he comes off the ball, he explodes, hesitate, take off at that outside shoulder for 3 hard steps, makes it look more like a fade because we had that tempo change, and then we could slip back underneath and win on that post. That's a textbook post route there versus inside shade, off-man coverage, and not making it too predictable. Sometimes, guys, it might work just running at his outside hip and outside shoulder hard, but other times you need to add something more creative. Now, next thing I want to talk about, guys, is the benefit of cutting your split down as a wide receiver in one-on-ones and using a move called a rocker step. So DBs are taught, I'm sure some of you have heard of this before, it's called the 70-30 rule. And DBs are taught that 70% of the time, wherever a wide receiver releases to, that's the direction of the route he's running. So 70% of the time we take an inside release, that's 7 out of 10 times we're running an inside breaking route. So a lot of wide receivers, when they cut their split down like this, a DB will line up outside leverage, right? Because he's expecting us to run an outside breaking route based on my alignment. However, if I take an inside release, they may be thinking that I'm running an inside breaking route. So we can use that to our advantage while keeping space to the outside for my quarterback. So what this wide receiver is running is he's running a corner route. I love a reduced split, which means you line up closer to the offensive line, which is over here where I drew this arrow, corner route in one-on-ones, because you're going to get a DB who's lined up outside leverage. You could attack his leverage outside and take an inside release, fake a post route, fake an inside breaking route to get him to bite, and then leave your quarterback plenty of room. So let's watch what the receiver does. He attacks him, takes the inside release, and he uses a move called a rocker step to get that DB to bite. Meanwhile, leaving that quarterback a whole lot of room to throw us open. So let's break it down. So again, this DB is probably about like 4 yards off. With that 4 yards of space, I got to eat up the space. I got to go try to step on his toes, and I want to give him a move. Make him think that we're trying to just do an outside release, get him to hesitate. Okay, now we took this inside release. Now this DB's thinking, okay, maybe he's thinking about the 70-30 rule. 70% of the time they go inside, they're running an inside breaking route. So he's thinking, oh crap, I don't want to get beat to the inside. He just moved me off my platform. So now him going to the inside might give the quarterback more room. I don't have my safety help over there. So when we push up vertical in that DB and we're able to stack him, which means gets that DB trailing our back hip, and we use a move called a rocker step, which is where you step in the direction you're going first. It's essentially a 1-2 at the top of the break. So we step in the direction I'm going first, 1-2, to fake that inside route. Because again, remember, we took an inside release. So that's more likely to get that DB to bite. But because we didn't force the outside release into this DB's leverage, we have plenty of space, again, for the quarterback to throw us open. And that is one of the easiest throws that a quarterback can make when you give him that kind of space on a corner. So, guys, a great route to run in one-on-ones, I'm telling you, is an inside release corner route from a reduced split position and maybe throwing a move like a rocker step at the top.